Good evening and welcome to Just Seriously Voicing Thoughts with me, Kriss Venugopal. And today we have a very special guest who is a sound designer and a recordist. And the speciality, what makes him more different and unique, is that about his work, the kind of work he does recently, what you've heard or what you've got to know about from the news, The Elephant Whisperer. He's the sound designer for that Oscar winning documentary. So, the pleasure of having my dear friend Nikhil Verma. Welcome to Just Seriously. Nikhil, welcome to the show.
Hello, hi, Kriss.
Hi.
First, if I could make a small correction, I wasn't the sound designer. I was
The
a Foley
Folly,
supervisor
Folly
for yeah,
supervisor. Yeah.
yeah. I'm My sound designer was Ruben Anthony, and he was a person who offered the work to us, and it was indeed an honor and a pleasure to work with the crew. It was a wonderful experience.
Let me start with that because the concept, what comes to people, they just see a movie, they hear a lot of sounds, they just maybe they hear the dialogues, they hear the narration, and that's all. Maybe the background music. No one would really understand what soundscaping, sound design, foley, and the re-recording or recording is as such. So, from you, let's get to have a clear idea about what's the difference between soundscaping, foley design, or sound design, foley, and the recording, re-recording.
Okay, when we come to break down sound, first of all, let's say, as Francis Coppola said, sound is kind of the half of film.
Hmm.
And if when we break down sound, we could break it down into three sections. That is one, dialogues, the voices, the narrations, and the dialogues of the film.
Hmm.
And two, the music, all the music that's there in the film, uh, that would enhance the emotions of the scene. And three would be sound effects, all
Okay.
sound effects that you hear in the film. Even in fact, in sound effects, we could classify into further sections. That is like the ambiences, like the sound of the birds, the traffic in the scene. All those would come in under ambiences, and there the sounds of cars and all, car, rain, and all would come in another section. And and in the third section probably would be the sounds of follies. Folly is any live sound effect that an artist, a folly artist, would perform in sync with the picture. Um, that is like the footsteps of a character.
Hmm.
Uh, if a character walks into a door, into a room, uh, he might tap on the handle of the door, would push it open. If he takes a cup and places it on a table, that sound, all kinds of live sounds uh, that are in sync with the picture are performed by a Foley artist inside a studio. Uh, Later, in sync with the picture. So if seem like an actor uh, dubs the dialogues, every other sounds of the actor would be given out by the Foley artist.
So let me understand it a little more clear. The Foley artist actually should understand whether he's keeping the cup on a glass table or a wooden table. Is the hinge an old one or a new one? Whether he's wearing a sneaker or a shoe, all those things, a sneaker or probably a kind of a boot. All these things should be a kind of understanding what the Foley artist should have. Is that
Yes,
so?
yes, precisely. It also he also needs to understand the mood of the scene. How angry would the character be? Probably, if the character is angry, he might slam the door open and walk in. The force of the steps would be much harder. If it's a romantic scene, probably things might be milder. He or she would need to understand the scene and the film in detail uh, do do justice to the film.
Yeah, to the audience, let me just explain. While I was doing a short film way back, many years back in Dubai, the ruffle of the sheet, the cup being placed on the sink, the gas stove worked on, the car moving, all those sounds. Nikhil actually went and recorded and started doing the Foley, which really blowed my mind how realistic the sound would be when a Foley artist recreates it. Now, what is the reason why they have to do it is because the shoot would be having so much of interference and ambient noise. So this has to be recreated. So the whole concept of Foley was new to me when Nikhil worked on that particular short film. But working on a documentary like Elephant Whisperer, we'd like to know how the Foley supervision and how it actually happened. Because an Oscar-winning documentary, we are looking at the aspect of the sound design for that or the Foley for that.
Uh, it was actually when the film came to us, it was uh, one for me. I grew up in a place where I've seen elephants quite a lot, and I love elephants quite a lot. So when I saw a film with elephants, I wanted to do something extra into it, and so contribute our maximum to it, um, and it quite helped, I guess.
And do you really you have a lineage in a royal family, so being with elephants, like for a common man, elephant is just a distant sight, so going near it or maybe interacting with an elephant is a far dream, or probably only in dreams they see it. So what's your do you think that it has helped being in that royal lineage?
Uh, uh, Not really as part of the lineage, but as I said, I grew up in a place where I've seen quite a lot of elephants. That not
For the
even though,
festivals.
yeah, for the festivals and all. So I've had the chance to be in close contact with them and hear their sounds. So I know how I could recreate those sounds so that it could be the closest to the original. That's
Right. Nikhil is the founder director of Molecule Studio, where there is a full fledged Foley floor which will give all kinds of support on a Foley or a sound design for a film. So, when you were setting up the Molecule Studio, I really was amazed at the floor where you have sand, gravel, and other pits and all those designs. What was your experience building up Molecule Studio in Tripunithura?
It was wonderful. I wanted to have a space where an artist could easily recreate all those sounds. In which, in our studio, there are, as you said, there are around 15 surfaces, including granite, wood, tiles, linoleum, uh, soft cement, hard cement, gravel, sand, and when it comes to a film, a character might walk on different surfaces. So to do justice to that, so a Foley artist would see what surface the character is walking on, and would pick the surface accordingly.
So
And
means that if a person is walking in a forest, so you will actually use ruffle leaves.
yes,
Oh, nice, nice. Yeah, your
uh,
experience about it.
and probably would the Foley artist would put in some ruffle leaves, some dry a few bit of mud along to create the feel of the forest and all.
Oh, nice, nice. Now, other than being a sound designer, a recordist, you've worked with radio, like probably we worked together, though it sounds
Yeah,
like ages before. That
yeah.
experience, I really had a surprising element when Ranjit was leaving and you were joining Radio Me as a sound designer or the production head. And I was intrigued by the thought that, yeah, a person from Middlesex University who's finished sound design coming for a radio. So, what was your experience with radio and your experience with Middlesex University, where you did your studies on sound?
Um, First, if I could go to Middlesex and talk about Middlesex, it was really a wonderful experience. I was able to lay my hands on top-notch equipment and gain experience from there. And I used to pick equipment from. I used to rent the equipment from our studio, and used to work with students from other film schools and all. So that by the time I finished my graduation, I had a small circle of friends from film schools with whom I had worked already. So that that was kind of a very good experience from there. And when it comes to uh, radio was um, radio actually taught me how to think in terms of sounds and how one sound uh, could could be used to tell a story in one a particular way. The actually the first radio station that I worked in, there was a program for a radio drama, and the task was that I would be given dialogues, recorded dialogues, and uh, I had to create a scene and a story out of it. So that was really a wonderful experience for me to get into sound design, and I really loved that aspect of it.
Coming to working in films, you worked with great directors, and did radio help in films or film helped in radio?
Both ways, I guess. I don't know, but still, the idea is actually to think in terms of how one sound could be placed in one place. That actually radio helped me quite a lot. Even without having a pictorial reference, I was able to create a sound script um, and develop on those lines. So that has quite helped me a lot.
No, you have worked in different kinds of like the art cinema, what you call the art cinema, or documentaries, radio
Yeah.
dramas, proper jingles, and you've worked on commercials. Which do you think is the favorite part of sound design for you?
Um, Actually, definitely would be films that have very little music. So because it the challenge is to build the soundscape with just sounds. And there will be quite a few films with which I had to work on. Example, Nishido and Tufan Mail. And Tufan and Mail was the opening film in the IFI in 2021, where music was very minimal. So we had to play with sounds.
When you said Tufan Mill, probably we are looking at even the sounds of trains, and in
Yeah.
movies, probably old trains and new trains, or probably the modern electric trains. Everything has a different sound. So, how do you get the reference of all these?
Yeah.
Or
When
is
we
it
come to
that,
this.
or is it that today computers have gone to a level where you can just place a sound? Is it like that?
No, I'm afraid not, but because we've had to record those sounds prior to uh, getting it track laid. In fact, this film was set in the 70s, so we had to place the sounds accordingly as well.
Oh, so that takes up a lot of amount of work when it comes to the design. Which
Yes,
was
in
the
fact.
was it the most difficult one you've ever done?
Um, yeah, kind of. It was because it was quite tough to recreate um, the period essence.
Now, another aspect of Nikhil as such, my like our association has been for many years. Nikhil is a wonderful voice artist. You can actually hear the baritone, and you will just go with the flow. That's the kind of voice you have. So, your experience as a voice artist.
I don't know. Whether I can even talk about voice artist. And even with you, you were the one who taught me the tips and tricks of uh, voice acting as such, I guess. But I don't know. I just love that aspect to play with however I can play with my voice.
When it is to record a voice, like we have a lot of students, like my students who are currently on the audience side. I would really wonder how the experience of being a voice artist? Like, what do you enjoy more? Do you enjoy being a voice artist or a sound designer?
Doing voice is kind of an interesting job. I'm like, uh, I've, I've enjoyed some of the jobs that I've got to be a voice artist. Um, it's actually you got to be another person, another character, and something that you don't have the most when you're a sound designer. It's you just uh, working on a reference to something else. Whereas when it comes to voice acting, uh, you're lending out something of yours uh, to to do justice to a script or a form of a film. So that's
Right.
kind of interesting, I guess.
A few years back, I happened to see a movie called Shabdo. It's a Bangla movie.
Yeah.
And Shabdo actually talks about a Foley artist who completely his brain stops listening to actual voices and he listens to only the Foley sounds. And his life and how he's treated and the psychologist, that's a story about Shabdo. So, do you actually? I was wondering. I wanted to ask any from a Foley supervisor or maybe a sound designer. Does it really work that you're talking to a person, suddenly you start observing these surrounding sounds and not listen to that person? Does that happen with you? Probably you're married, so does that help? Listening to the ambient sounds and not your wife.
I mean, like she's complained quite a lot, in fact, in terms of that, because when we go to another one place, probably there might be one sound, and uh, I might probably uh, thinking how I could um, how I could record that sound and how I could use that sound in an artistic sense in another place, or um, but probably a normal person wouldn't even have heard that sound. A normal person wouldn't even identify what sound that is. So that's kind of interesting. When you get to have that kind of an experience, one would, at a psychological level, probably would start to think and hear and identify and break down sounds, and one would start to think what with what all elements, and at all times, the sound of an element in a film wouldn't be a single object. Probably it might have been made with a few different objects and mixed together to create a sound that you hear on a film. Um, so as Foley artists grow with experience, they would start to break down sounds as they hear. Probably one when they hear a sound of sound. What do you say? Something. They would start to break down how they could create that particular sound inside a studio with other materials. That that comes natural to them.
So, does that mean that probably instead of a bird, you can bring in another person who can emulate the sound and record it? Does that thing work, or you go to the actual location and record it?
Yeah, as we've seen in the film as well, like the flaps of the birds. Flaps of the birds are usually given with the gloves. Few layers of gloves are held together and uh, performed in sync with the picture to create the sound of the flaps.
That's
It's
interesting.
yeah.
So, do actually students of sound design learn that okay, you can do this with for a flap of a bird, you can do with the glove, or you improvise it?
Not really taught in school, but we tend to pick it up as we work.
Oh, and, experience really speaks.
Yeah,
That's what you say, right?
yeah.
Now,
There's not really a one way to approach it. I mean, like, it depends on how you see it. So, some films, probably you might want a pure, authentic sound to it. Sometimes you might want something that is quite a little beefed up. So you would have to play along.
sure. Is that the decision of the sound designer or the director tells you?
It's kind of a combined decision, I guess.
Okay, so if you say that, yeah, the bill would be more like the the invoice would have bigger numbers if I have to actually go to the location and record it. So the director says, okay, you can do it with a glove. Is that so?
I'd love to say that, but that's really another case sometimes.
Right. So, very interesting field which not many people have ventured into. Now, coming to the other side of life, where being in UK, being in Dubai, being in say Cochin and Tripunitara, the life has been different. But for you, the folly difference, if let's say talk about the soundscape of UK or soundscape of Dubai or soundscape of Kerala, what do you prefer the most?
Um, there's there's not really a straight answer to that, I guess, but still, when it comes to sounds in India, there are quite a lot of layers to it. So, for a designer, it's quite an interesting space to be in. Uh, we can identify stuff, the different layers, and give different different forms uh, to match it with the film.
Right.
So in that terms, probably Indian spaces are quite interesting.
Right. Now, in the meanwhile, let me welcome and thank Semi, Kabir, Kanimuri, Giatras, VH, Ajita Singh, Saumya Santosh, Anu Kurian, Salim Chalil, Fanaki Handria, Renuka Verma, Rahul Verma, Tangam, Bhagyalakshmi, and Anjana, who have joined us, and those who had to leave in between. I welcome and thank them also. In a short while, probably in about 8 minutes' time, you have the opportunity to interact with the Foley supervisor of Elephant Whisperer, the sound designer, the founder director of Molecule Studio, Nikhil Verma, my dear friend, and Nikhil, your life, like as a sound designer and sound engineer, sound recordist, usually the blend comes when you have a very supportive partner. And yes, you're blessed with one. Ranjani is a amazing artist who's giving you a hand in your work. And we would like to know about the support you two give each other, because she's an artist, a painter, and you're a sound designer. The sound, the visual, and coming together, it's an audiovisual life for you. So we'd like to know about your life and the support from your wife.
We tend to quite talk about each other's works quite a lot, um, uh, probably mostly daily, I guess. And we are, I guess, the first critics of our works. So uh, that's quite really helpful as well.
Hey, you mean to say that's just a normal family?
Yeah, kind of.
Right. So, when it comes to a particular scene where a husband and wife, do you tend to even carry weapons so that you can do the folly?
No, no, not
Not
really.
really. Okay. So we understand the depth of it. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are on with Nikhil Verma, sound designer, the founder director of Molecules, a recordist, and just seriously voicing thoughts with me, Kriss Venugopal. You have a chance to interact with Nikhil directly, and for all that, you have to do is raise your virtual hand, and I'll bring you up to the stage, and you can directly interact with Nikhil. Nikhil, your life in Dubai or life in UK. We have talked about that, and we have talked about being at home. So, do you actually feel that the day is too tough? Like, which part of the world was too tough for you? Because being a student in UK, being a radio professional in Dubai, or being a founder director of Molecule Studio in Kerala.
Actually, um, of
Because
all
I
the three,
really know that you love sleep.
yeah, I'd love to be stress free at all times anywhere. Because in fact, I've it was very different kind of careers that I've had in all these places. So I don't think I'll be able to compare the lives in those places. So because I was kind of more of an outdoorish person when I was in the UK, and because I had to go out to the locations and record sounds and all. So, but that wasn't the case when I came to Dubai. As you know, I was kind of in a room and working with you all people. So when I came back to Cochin, it was again kind of a mix. So I don't think I'll be able to compare all the three together. Yes.
Then, before welcoming Samya Santosh, let me ask you: was it a nightmare in Dubai working with us people because you're inside a room and we are like almost like crying over your work all the time?
That was kind of the best experience of my life, I guess.
All right. So, welcome Samya Santosh. She's from PKD School, Polachi, and she's an academic head. And welcome to Just Seriously Voicing Thoughts with me, Kriss Venugopal. You can interact with Nikhil Verma now.
Hi, Chris. Hi, Nikhil.
Hi.
I just wanted to know what was your challenging work? Like, can you tell me something which you just worked so engrossed, or some of your favorite work? Anything which is like most favorite, which you put your heart and soul in it?
I don't know. I tend to do that for all of my works, I guess. So, but right from the sound scripting stage until the mix. So, I don't know. I can only think of the latest works that I've done. I mean, like there was a heist film that I worked on previously, like 2, 3 films back, and in which I had to record all mechanical sounds, like of drill, and it's kind of um, a heist film. So we had to record sounds of machines, how they escape, and all those sounds. So we I wanted it to sound very authentic and very real. So I took all those machines in, and got it recorded in the studio. And if I could say another one was a film called Puvangori, where I took in a roaster into my studio and recorded the sounds of those. Then that was another one.
That was so interesting too. Like something like this, which you really took something real, like a rooster into the studio is. I mean,
I shouldn't be asking that in between, but still, did you take an elephant inside your Foley studio for recording Elephant Whisperer, or how do you do that? The footsteps of an elephant, and do you actually
Not
record
really.
it?
It was kind of made with something, a few elements, I guess. Mix with sack and something
Oh, you
stuffed
need
into those sacks and all.
you need to bring the weight so that you have
Yeah, yeah,
such heavy food on a particular surface. Yeah, very nice.
yeah.
Yeah, did I interrupt, Samya, or
no, no,
shall we
no.
move to the next question?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
please, please, yeah.
thank you very much,
Thank you,
Samya.
Nikhil. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. And now we have Fanaki Andrea, a person who trains people in habits. Yes, Fanaki, the floor is all yours.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chris. I'm so glad to hear from you, Nikhil Varma, as I'm
Hi.
really passionate about voice and sound. And I have one question, like how do you mimicate the sounds of animals? Because I know that some example, for example, you said that you can just take some gloves to make the birds flying, but how about like bird chirping, dogs barking, cat meowing? Do you take them and record it and just use it in case, or how do you do?
Um, it's those kind of sounds are actually different. I'm like we ambiences and sounds of cars and all those kinds of stuff are recorded prior and laid in sync with the picture. It's When it comes to Foley, it's only the live elements that which need to be in sync with the picture. That's the only things that are done in Foley. All other things are recorded prior. Um, in example, word chirps and all. Probably we'd have to find a similar word and get it recorded. If there isn't such a word, probably we'd have to design accordingly and create it. That's all.
Oh, really? All right. I see. Thank you. And another question. Is there any special learning to know like how to replicate a voice or a sound, or is just come like that, being creative?
How to what? Sorry.
Like, is there a special learning, like a university or a course to learn how to replicate sound, what, or you just get creative?
Yeah, there's quite a lot. In fact, the one where I studied, Middlesex, they've got a pretty good audio production program with good um, audio tutors from there. Andy Funnell was one among them. He's a very good tutor of gaming audio. So um, Middlesex is one of the best schools in England.
Wow, very interesting, very interesting. Thank you so much. And my last question will be, of course, there is a special material, right, to record the voice. So I'd like to know, is there any special microphone or
Yeah, there are kind of special microphones when it comes to if it's for a bird, sound of a bird, or in those cases, probably you would have to have a directional microphone so that you can get the sounds, isolate the birds out of the other noises in the area. There are few specific sounds like specific microphones like shotguns, parabolics, and also which we would have to pick uh, depending on the situation and the space that we are in.
very, very interesting. Well, thank you so much, and yeah, so glad to learn. Thank
Yeah, thank you very
Okay.
much, Fanaki. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, and you're welcome. Now we have Beatrice. Beatrice is from the US, and she's a project manager. Yes, Beatrice, you can talk to Nikhil.
Thank you, Dr. Chris, and thank you,
You're welcome.
Nikhil. Very
Hi.
interesting on how things are put together. But I was curious about timing and how the sound effects, what techniques are used to make everything sync together with when sound is made.
The timing is actually something that the artist gains over experience, I guess, because it's kind of like dancing. Probably, I've seen junior Foley artists and very experienced artists who are in their 60s and all. So, it the timing is something that is picked over the years. And once we've recorded all the individual elements, it comes to a Foley editor, and then it's layered in such a way that a mixing engineer can mix it into one aspect and a consolidated sound effect as such. I
No,
don't know.
okay, good.
I
Yeah.
don't know whether I was able to answer the question.
No, very helpful. Yes, that's the sounding engineering that kind of works their magic on making things sync together. The sound with the actors and things like that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Beatrice. Nikhil, let me come to another question before we take another person from the audience. When you're working with cartoons, there also you have the same kind of folly which works, but the whole ambience changes, the loss of gravity changes, everything is different for a cartoon. When it comes to movies like the like all underwater movies, or maybe you're working on a fantasy movie like Avatar, or uh, which is like totally away from what we physically see and physically know, where we understand how it is, and how difficult it is to work on such films when compared to the very naturalistic, minimal music kind of movies.
As I said earlier, the level of authenticity and realism is something that we would have to sit with the director and discuss, and the sound designer and the director, and uh, Chartered tried to working on the poly sound effects. So it's then that we could think as to how the sound would be, how much we would have to beef it up, um, and how cranky it needs to be, and all those sort of stuff. Once we've cracked the idea of what level and those things need to be, we just follow it accordingly all along.
Right. You worked on commercials too. Commercials are like 30-second stories, which might need a lot of sounds and a lot of effects and all that. So, do you find a challenge in working on such 30-second stuff, or a full length movie, which is like 2 hours, like it's labor intensive?
It's mostly for a full-length film because in a 30-second commercial, we hardly get the time to establish those kind of stuff, unless it's specifically the film gives us space. But I'm like I've worked on such films like um, car commercials and bike commercials, and I've worked on something for Ajmal Perfumes, which in which they had um, the the bottling of the perfumes and all which came in which we had to create the sounds of those machineries and all. One something that comes rarely in a 30-second segment when compared to a big format.
So, which is more, say, brain racking?
Surely the feature length films, because
Right.
I would have to
Yeah.
start from the sound script right after seeing the edit. Probably would have to work on the sound script as to what kind of sounds would work for the space and for the film and for the story to communicate much better to the audience.
Yeah, you have an experience of working with Shama Prasad, and the kind of work he does are probably more of realistic films. Your experience in working with such an ace director who was like respected all around.
Um, I don't know. I was actually the first time when I worked with Jamsar, but it was a wonderful experience to work with him. Um, I don't think I need to talk about him for that matter at all. But still, he is someone who has a very clear idea as to how the film needs to be made and uh, what what can he prefers on sync recording of dialogues, because he knows the value of sync recording and how much an actor would be able to an actor's dialogues would sound good. The performance, how real the performance would be from a location rather than that getting dubbed in a studio late at a later point of time. So such kind of things were um, really enlightening when I worked with him.
When, as a sound designer, as a recordist, how far do you think the contribution of a voice artist is when it comes to the dubbing part? Because you've done that side of the work also.
I rarely get to have the opportunity to be with artists in a dubbing space, but still, I tend to go in my films. I tend to go in during the first half of uh, the dubs, so that I can set the tone and uh, how loud the characters need to be for the space and those kind of stuff, so that I can um, set the space accordingly and get the recordist to be in sync with my ideas and all, so that he can take it up from there.
We often hear it's kind of jargon. I would say it's a kind of a technical jargon, but still accepted by people when it comes to a movie, saying that yeah, this is Atmos and this is 5.1 and all that. So, as a sound designer, how challenging is it to space out things? Probably this should come on a tweet, this should come on the bass. And do you have a difficulty in working like that, or is it a part of the profession?
It's actually, I'm like it's our idea as to what kind of sounds need to be in what spaces, but uh, the actual job is done by a mix engineer, uh, and he or she would be the person who decides as to where those sounds need to go.
So
Even
he
though we
actually
would have an
changes the
idea.
changes the levels so that we feel, and he changes the spacing so that the escaping happens properly.
Yes, exactly.
Ah,
But even though we would have the idea as to how that could be spaced out, and we could put in the layers accordingly, the execution, the job is done by a sound mixer.
right. Let me come to the very easy or the most difficult question. Like a person from a totally different background, your choice to become a sound engineer. What was the real idea? Or has any kind of movies inspired you, saying that yeah, I would like to do a movie like that? Or how did you come into sound engineering, as well as we would like to know how you went into Foley, as well as the sound design.
Sound, sound was kind of an interesting thing because I love music when I write for my schooling.
Hmm.
Uh, I I got into sound engineering through my passion for music, but later at a later point when I started to watch films, watch a lot of films actually. In fact, uh, quite a lot of international films, and also I started to build a love for movies as such. So that was when I started to slowly switch from music to, and also a point is that I realized the matter fact that I really didn't know much of music when I went and saw quite a lot of musicians out there in gen. So that was also a factor, in fact. And when I started seeing quite a lot of films, I started to build love for every element of films, not just sound. So since I was already into sound, I um, so sound and film uh, was the area next. That's all.
I asked that question because let me just take you to the Indian perspective for those who don't understand. Some child goes to the parent and says, I want to be a sound engineer. The usual response is like the eyes go blank, heart sinks, and there is a lot of crying happens because you don't want to become an engineer or a doctor. That's the kind of aspect what you find in India. That's the Indian perspective. So, was it that kind of a scenario where when you said sound design, was there eyebrows raised, or was it just okay? You like it? Yes, go on. Was it like that?
In fact, I was quite lucky to have my father um, wanted. Um, I mean, like he considered my idea, and he didn't really squash it out. But so he he said yes, it would be nice if you could go in for a normal, usual graduation, but still, if this is what something that you love, yes, I'll talk to people and I'll see whether it would be helpful for you. And he took an initiative and he went and met people that he thought would be able to help him understand what this is. And because he was a journalist and he didn't know what sound engineering was, and so he met people and understood whether I'd be able, whether I would be able to make a living out of it or not.
So, do you really
But
feel that you should have it in your blood to be a sound engineer? Because the love for music, you already said. Is it actually the music in the blood which helps you, or any person who has a liking can start moving towards sound engineering?
uh, yeah, it's any person with a liking and a passion towards it probably would be able to pick it up from there.
Yeah.
I
So,
guess.
just seriously voicing thoughts with me, Kriss Venugopal, I would like to again say that if you want to interact with Nikhil directly, yes, you just need to raise your virtual hand and I can bring you up. And welcome Anu Kurian, Salim Chalil, and Sahil for coming and being with us. And coming to the next part of your profession as a career, what are the upcoming projects you're looking up to?
I've finished working on two films as of now. They're yet to be released, and I'm planning on another few for the next month as well.
Oh, right, right. Are you looking at training people in sound engineering? Or maybe Molecule Studio, is it because me being a trainer, naturally I'll be looking at how the concept of sound design or soundscaping or Foley could be taken forward. So, are you looking at training people in that?
Um, Not really as now, but I've been asked by a few people whether I'd be interested in training a few students who are interested in design.
Mhm.
So I'm not ruling that out, but still not something as of now.
As a sound engineer, it's a very laborious work. I do understand. So, do you mean to say that you get time for your own personal space, or is it
It
very,
depends on
very
the amount
intense?
of work that you would have to put in for a project as such. Because if the film or the project that you're working on is has laborious work, then it would be uh, kind of a low space for the family or personal life as such. But
So then the
when
Foley
it comes
sounds
to
really changes. Does it bring in the utensils and all that stuff, or is it just normal, just the voice part?
everything and anything that wouldn't be,
Except the weapons or the armory,
yeah,
probably.
yeah.
Okay, now I'd like to welcome Anu Kurian to interact with Nikhil. Anu, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Dr. Chris.
You're
Nice to have
welcome.
you here, Nikhil.
Hi.
Um, Hi. I just wanted to know what course of study do you follow to get into a profession like yours?
There are quite a few because the one that I studied was audio production from L6, but in fact, it depends on where one is, where you're based out of. If you're here in India, uh, there are quite a lot. In fact, one could go to the Film Institute in Pune or the Film Institute in Adyar in Chennai. Um, and there's Whistling Woods. There are quite a few options here in India. It depends on where you're placed.
And do you have to take up engineering first, or is it with a normal bachelor's course that you can enter into these courses?
Uh, you just need to have quite a little science background. That's all, I guess.
You need a science background.
It would be beneficial if you have a little science background so that you can. It'll be easier for you to identify um, and understand the subjects that I've taught. That's all.
And for a Foley artist, um, is it something that you study, or is it something that you train yourself to be?
That's. I don't think. In fact, I'm not aware of a place where uh, a folly, where something is taught to be someone's taught to be a foley artist. But I've only seen people foley artists who've trained over years and have become a foley artist in the process.
You mean,
Apart from that, I haven't seen a space where you're taught to be a foley artist.
yeah, sorry for interrupting you, but how do they how do they begin? Is it out of an interest that they enter the profession?
Yeah, it's purely out of interest towards the idea of creating sounds from zero. That's a
So,
common thing that I've seen from interns who've come to our studio and other studios as well. So because it's out of the sheer passion and their curiosity as to how sounds can be created from scratch without even having the original things.
Nikhil,
Okay,
is
and
it more of? I'm just adding to Anu's question. Do you mean to say that after sound engineering, working with a Foley artist as an apprentice or an assistant, does that upgrade him to be a Foley artist, or is it a separate field as such?
No, the most of the Foley artists that I've seen have in fact come from normal education and come into. I've been it's only one or two people who've studied sound engineering then become Foley artists. Most of the other people have just laid their hands on and learned things in the process.
Yes, Anu. Back to you.
yeah, and thank you, Dr. Chris. And uh, if you were a Foley artist, how lucrative is it?
In terms of
Money.
Money.
it depends on where you are, and if you're someone in Bombay or in Mumbai or Chennai or here, it depend. It would be comfortable. Probably, if you complete a film, you would get something under a lakh or so. That depends on which place you're in.
So again, do you mean to say that these artists they're placed in some other jobs? Do they do this as something out of interest that they do like sidelined into this, or is it a full time job?
Yeah, it definitely is a full time job. Uh,
It's a full time job. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
asking this for my son. He likes all these things. So I thought, what better person to ask than you?
Eh,
So, so that question, that lucrative part, that's a mother's question, obviously.
Yeah,
okay.
that's a mother's question. Like Nikhil's father, I'm delving deep into where they can, opportunities that they can find.
Okay. It depends
Thank you,
on his
Nikhil. Thank
passion
you
and
so
his
much.
ideas, and also you would have to know more about his interests and all.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Anu. Nikhil,
Yeah.
before we wind up the show in about a few minutes' time, your experience, this journey, what you like, it's a completely a very beautiful musical journey you have taken. So we'd like to know about your experiences and what you learned from the world of sounds, or probably the voices and sounds you've ever heard. So, in short, how would you describe your musical journey?
Um, I don't know what to say. I like, but every day, each day, I keep my ears open and try to hear something new. That's the way I take it forward. That's all.
Probably you're born with a boom mic in your yes. Oh, sorry. Probably yeah. Your the receptacle, and probably at times it changed to a shotgun, maybe a cardioid, then probably a condenser mic. It keeps changing. Does it change like oh this fixed one?
Yeah, it kind of changes every time because sometimes probably you'll have to be picky in terms of what sound you want to hear, and at times you want to generally hear everything in the room.
Right. So before I thank everyone, and before I thank you as a person, like we work together in radio, the experience in your radio life.
Um, Radio is, as in fact, it's something really interesting because since there isn't something a reference in front of you, so you have to create everything out of scratch and um, build build ideas and build elements to a radio station uh, right from zero. So that's kind of an interesting space in that sense. And that has been kind of a base when I came into films as well. So that experience has quite helped me as well.
So I take the pride and honor that I worked with Nikhil Verma, the Nikhil Verma of Molecule Studio, the founder director. We worked together, and probably I would say that I've been a voice artist for you for your commercials, and you've been a Foley designer, soundscape designer for my short film, and that interaction I would cherish for a very very long time. And this talk, what we had for the past 1 hour, I really cherish it for that long-standing friendship. Probably we don't talk so much over the phone, but still, today it's a very blessed moment, a blessed hour where we could interact on different aspects, and I'm sure that there is a lot of take home for every listener. Probably for Anu, it's for her son. For others, how the soundscaping happens inside a movie, and for others, it's a talk where the experienced really talks. Your parting words.
Um, I will the next time you watch a movie, um, give some extra care to listen and observe, and I try and identify sounds that you've never heard before. That's all.
But do you really feel that Folly also should come up on the awarding level for films in festivals? Because we have the sound. That's what it's generally termed as for Oscars too. It's called as the sound part. So, do you think that Folly also should be recognized as one of the fields which really matter?
It depends on the awards as such, because in most of the awards, it's just one single category for sound, which which is combined together with the mix engineer, the sound designer, the recordist, and the foley artist, and all together. Um, it's kind of for the team together. Um, but there are associations. In fact, here IRA is an organization that recognizes the efforts of Sahali artists, Foley engineers, uh, and other mix engineers and all from various streams of sound engineering.
Right. The fag end, but still, I'd like to thank Jyoti Dahiya, Sanjay Verma, and Anandu for joining us on Just Seriously Voicing Thoughts with me, Kriss Venugopal. And Nikhil, before we wind up the show, I would take this opportunity to thank you from the bottom of my heart for agreeing to be on this show. And also, I'd like to thank Semi and Kabir, who supported me to carry this out on this day. And every Thursday, at India time 9:30 and UAE time 8 p.m. we have Just Seriously. So that happens on every Thursday. And now, words of gratitude, of kind of a friendship note, I would like to say. It was really a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you very much.
It was indeed a pleasure and honor to have been with you for a past hour. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you, all the listeners. This is Just Seriously. I'm Kriss Venugopal signing off.